Beloved heart, I invite you to sign up to my mailing list, and as a result of signing up, you will get a free gift. It's a 5D rebalance tune-up of all these chakras, and chakras are my specialty, so I would love to gift you with this transmission that is filled with light language and codes to help you stay balanced and tuned up during these increased frequencies of energy of this ascension, this new earth frequency. So check out the links in the notes of this show, and I look forward to connecting with you. I am sending you love. This is the transfiguration of the new you. Hello, beloved listeners. Welcome back to another episode on my podcast called Ascended Earth, the Transfiguration of the New Human. I'm Monica Bermudez, your host, and I have a very special guest and treat here with us. Her name is Jen McCarty, and she is an author of several books, and I love her books and all her messages. And so she has a new book out, and we're going to talk about her new book. It's a lot of great messages behind it. But first, let me introduce Jen to all of you. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you, Monica. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for accepting and being here. Can you introduce yourself to us and to the listeners hearing about you for the first time?
Okay, so I had a really powerful spiritual awakening when I was 21 years of age in 1995, and that blasted my third eye open. And I went into God consciousness, Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, oneness consciousness, and I've basically been there like my whole adult life. And but I didn't really go public with sharing my spiritual gifts until, well, it was 2015. So that was exactly 20 years after my awakening. I started sharing my spiritual gifts, and I wrote a blog about twin flames, and it just really hit a nerve in the collective. It hit a good nerve. So I managed to build up an online community very quickly through sharing my spiritual writings. I've now written 13 books, and Lingam Worship Workbook is my 13th book, and Lingam Worship is my 12th book. I've got a big group on Facebook called The Event Is Happening. I've got a really active spiritual community on Facebook predominantly. And I help people on their ascension journey from transforming from third dimensional caterpillar to fifth dimensional butterfly.
Wow, that is so amazing. Yeah, it's quite an achievement, right? With all your books. I'm just getting my first book out. So, this is, I really admire like all the books you have, and they're so when I read them, I could really feel the energy of the messages that are coming through. It's like almost they have their own encodement to them. And so in a way, they're very activating. So yeah, definitely, would love to jump more into this, new book that you have out, which is so intriguing. Sure. The Lingam Worship is called The Lingam Worship, a Sacred Sexuality Guidebook for the New Earth. And if maybe you could start off by telling us a little more about what the Lingam is, because this is one of the areas that I didn't know myself. So I imagine that maybe some of the listeners don't know either.
So actually, the lingam refers to the Shiva lingam, and I've got a picture of it on my book. So it's the Shiva lingam, and it's actually the yoni and the phallus, which is what the symbol Shiva lingam is about. But within the tantric community and the tantric teachings, the word lingam has been associated with the penis, with the phallus. So that's why I was guided to call this book Lingam Worship, because it's offering a deeper spiritual perspective on the phallus of what it is from a spiritual perspective, and why the divine masculine has it, and how we as the divine feminine can really deeply understand the phallus and really have and create a sacred relationship with the phallus. So that is what the lingam symbolizes. It symbolizes the penis, the phallus. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So how does this all tie in with the new earth? Like, where do you see us going with all of this?
Well, that's a really, really good question, Monica. I would highly recommend reading this book. It's basically an ode to New Earth sexuality and how it relates to New Earth from my personal perspective is that it offers us a chance to look at our programming around sexuality, and it gives us the opportunity to see that maybe we've all been hoodwinked with regards to this
Mm-hmm.
with our sexuality. The book offers a proposal or an idea that we are transitioning out of this secular, i.e., non-sacred relationship with our sexuality, and we are moving back now to a much more sacred relationship with our sexuality. And
Mm-hmm.
in this book, I propose an idea that at the time of Atlantis, when before the fall of Atlantis,
Mm-hmm.
um, you would have been prepared to be with your divine partner from the moment of your conception, even. And when you were born, an astrologer would be able to look at your birth chart, and through the positioning of the North Node and the house and the degrees that are with the other planets, your mystical astrologer would be able to even in some ways find the identity of your spiritual partner. So back in the pre-fall of Atlantis days, we would have all been prepared to be with our sexual partner, and we would not have been connecting sexually with any Tom, Dick, or Harry. We would have been preserving our sexuality for our divine partnership. So, and that is what the one of the ideas that the book is presenting is that we are like ideally we're moving back towards that notion of preserving our sexuality for that one true beloved of the soul. But I also talk about the transitory period between now and the sort of like full new earth grounding, and
Mm-hmm.
whereby we don't necessarily have to go to that extreme of not being sexually intimate with anyone other than our true love, but it just gives many different ways that you can learn to manage your sexuality with the understanding that we've all had this seven chakra system. We have the base chakra, which keeps us all really in our sort of animal beastly nature, and we have the heart chakra, which keeps us connected to love, and we have the crown chakras, which keeps us connected to the highest spiritual realms. Well, it's so easy for humans to go down that base chakra route,
Mm-hmm.
and all of society has been constructed to exonerate and glorify the lower base connections or energies within our sexuality. And so the book is really highlighting this agenda, this programming agenda, to keep humanity sort of like locked into the lower base chakra. And this is an invitation to us to rise to the heart chakra and to the,
Mm-hmm.
the higher chakras.
Yeah, and that is so important and key what you just shared because for so long we've held a lot of sexual trauma in the lower base area. You know, some have experienced that kind of sexual trauma or they carry it from like their ancestral lineage, you know, like if there's been some type of rape or, you know, a trauma, you know, with those sex
Yeah.
organs. And so, yeah, so your book does open up a road and a pathway so that we're able to heal from that, right? And be able to embrace our divine sexuality because truly, and I feel like a lot of the society and programming, and even in some religions, they have tainted or corrupted the way, you know, sexuality is seen. And so I like how you shared about Atlantis, you know, where there is this preparation that goes on early from birth. I do remember, though, that you read a portion of it to us at the Avalon retreat when we were there together.
Yeah.
Um, and you're talking a lot about the, you know, consciousness of like, and man, you know, how we like relate to men, you know, now in the
Yeah.
divine masculine,
Yeah.
um, because a lot of that had been distorted through time. So maybe you could just elaborate a little more about the divine masculine and how all of this ties in.
Basically, the way that these teachings can really, really deeply support the divine masculine soul consciousness is through the eagle's perspective on exactly what the lingam is. And so the teachings that I received in Aranachala were related to the fact that in the Bible, that Adam is born first, and it says that Eve is created from Adam's ribs. And I never really understood that, like why they said that in the Bible. But when I had this experience of embodying and meeting the energy of Shiva, I was shown that when the twin flames come out of the spiritual realms into the physical earthly realm, it is the divine masculine consciousness that jumps first, or descends first, or projects his consciousness first from the spiritual realms to the lower dimensional realms. And the divine masculine has been given the phallus, which is symbolic of a rope, which when he holds that rope, he will remember his connection to God's source energy, and he will feel safe and he will feel comforted whenever he holds his phallus. And that will remind him that he's always at one with God and with his God self.
Mm-hmm.
So that is essentially the teachings of the book with regards to the divine masculine soul consciousness. How do these teachings benefit him? Well, they give him an understanding that he incarnated into the lowest notes of the third dimension, because in a way you can look at the dimensions like an octave on a keyboard. And so he incarnated into the lowest notes on that keyboard, and in a way he took the hit for the war codes, duality codes, separation codes, combative codes, competition codes, all of that. He assimilated those energies within his soul consciousness, you could say, or his auric field, so that when his divine feminine incarnated, she could incarnate in more into the mid-range of the octave system, which is much more around empathy, service,
Mm-hmm.
compassion, nurturing, caring, all these higher, obviously we're generalizing, but so how this benefits the divine masculine is an understanding of how brave that he is to come from the spiritual realms to incarnate in the lowest notes of the octave in order to protect the divine feminine, so that she doesn't have to go there to those places energetically and vibrationally. So that is my response to the question, how do these teachings serve the divine masculine?
Hmm. That is beautiful. I love that. Yeah. So I love how everything just, ties in to the benefits, how the divine masculine consciousness and how all of that shifting right now in the new earth itself. It's like a return of it and maybe a lot stronger, right? Would you say
Yeah.
it's coming in much stronger now?
What, the new earth codes that are coming in? Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's going to be amazing, because we will have learned all of the really, really hard lessons of duality.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas at Atlantis and Lemuria, we only knew like the crystalline consciousness, the new earth 5D consciousness and above. We didn't understand about the lower frequencies, but now we've had this experience of the lower frequencies. We can when we do experience it again, we're going to be much more wiser.
Yeah. And I think it may have been you who said that, maybe during Atlantis, we were like children, still kind of learning, but now we become like adults now.
As an Atlantean and Lemurian, we're fifth dimensional, so we have our full 12-strand DNA, and so it's actually the
Mhm.
opposite. It's like we're much more
Okay.
childlike now in many ways. That's just my opinion and how I perceive it.
Yeah.
But I think that we had our pure childlike essence
Hmm.
in Atlantis, and that original divine innocence template. But my understanding is that we were way, way, way more advanced in Atlantis than what we are now, because we were
Hmm.
fifth dimensional beings, whereas we're third dimensional beings here. Most people are operating from a two-strand DNA. Whereas in Atlantis, we were like full 12 strand. So I think it's just a matter of semantics. I think that,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think in Atlantis, we had that childlike innocence.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I guess, like I heard somebody else say that, and I can understand where they're coming from with that perspective. And I think where, we are right now is that we're much wiser, like you were just saying earlier, where, we come from a lot of experience with the duality. And so
Yeah.
we experience some of that hardship. And with that knowingness of what that experience was like, we're carrying that into the new earth to be wiser about it and how, we're going to apply these techniques, the divine masculine consciousness, the sacred sexuality in a much more different way than, we may have done so then, even though we were so advanced, but there things happen where Atlantis fell, right? And so did Lemuria. And I think those are where the lessons learned are, right? During that fall. And I
Yeah.
think there are some people that still carry some of that trauma, but it's a matter of like really forgiving, ourselves and letting it go and rewriting those stories. And we could rewrite those stories now with a lot of these messages, right? Like the messages that you share with your book, and everything that you're teaching as well, in all of your books, actually. Because, this is just one portion of that, of where, the new earth is leading, how these new earth codes are so potent right now for us to really make that change, for the better for all of us, for the collective. Um, so is there anything else that you want to share from that book, or would
Yeah,
you be open to like sharing an excerpt?
yeah, definitely. Would you like to pick a page, Monica, from between 175, and I'll read a page, read it.
Oh, okay. I was thinking 20.
20.
I was
Okay.
hearing the number 20.
Okay. So that's just a little paragraph. Oh, okay. Maybe it's this one. Facing our sexual trauma in order to move forward. We as a society have experienced much painful programming and painful experiences with regards to our sexuality. There has been a huge culture of rape, abuse, violation, child sex abuse, and abuse towards men and women, boys and girls. If you have not experienced sexual abuse in your lifetime, most likely it exists somewhere within your ancestral lineage. Maybe even your parents or your grandparents experienced this abuse. This abuse by the lingam has caused an unfathomable detriment to the fabric of society and has created it such that many women are afraid of the lingam, fearful of its power, fearful of its drive, afraid of its insatiability, afraid of its desire to dominate and abuse. This is a huge area that has affected all of our lives in some way. Therefore, it would not be credible to move forward with this sacred text without bringing some light towards this subject. I myself have not experienced sexual abuse in this lifetime, but I come from a family where this was an extremely prevalent thing. This made it such that I grew up with a huge fear of men, a huge fear of male sexuality. As a woman, how can we experience the softness, expansion, and suppleness of our yoni if we are meeting the lingam with such deep fear? As we progress in our spiritual evolution and transcend the programming that has been inflicted upon us from all the different areas of our society, we encounter our own healing journey. Eventually, this brings us all to working with our sexuality and healing and recalibrating our sexuality back to its original divine template. If you are reading these words as a feminine polarity being, I would invite you now to write out in your journal. So this is a really good exercise for everyone watching the video. If you're a divine feminine, I would invite you now to write out in your journal your relationship with the lingam. Write out any fears that you have held in the past and the present, and really go deep into bringing forth a stream of consciousness, expressing many different remnants of your relationship with the lingam, focusing particularly on programming and fear around the lingam. When you have done this exercise, this will offer a massive eye-opener to you and will show you areas in your consciousness where the shadow aspects have not been interfaced with the light. It is very important that we upgrade, heal, and transform our relationship with the lingam so that we understand the base point whereby we are starting from. That's it.
Wow, so beautiful. Just to like for the listeners, we haven't really planned this. We're actually going by the flow, but I find it amazing that that page started with the whole sexual trauma that we were talking about, in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
it says a lot, that definitely, this is a very important book to have. So I will definitely be looking for a copy for myself.
Yeah, and please let me know if you're
yeah,
not able to order it, because they're like,
right.
you should be able to order it, definitely. I mean, it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're a company. So just let me know, Monica. And if you can't order it, I'll get back to my publisher and I'll
Mhm.
get him to get it out. But I just want to let everyone know that I'm in talks at the moment about hosting a retreat in New York in September, and we're going to be doing like really, really powerful grid work, particularly on the site where the Twin Towers came down, and because I received information that was actually created as a black hole siphoning point now
Mm.
for lower frequencies to magnetize, and the ground crew is being called to basically invert the it's been
Mhm.
manipulated. That particular grid point has been really, really heavily manipulated, and
Mhm.
we need to go and open up an angelic portal on this site.
Mhm.
So we're going to be also working with other really important grid points in New York, such as the Empire State Building, which is really connected to the financial institutions, and also the Statue of Liberty. And we're going to be doing really deep work with recoding these sites with the new Earth codes.
Mhm.
So I'll send Monica the
Yeah.
information if you're interested in booking onto my retreat.
Yeah, so for the listeners, I'll have all the information in the episode notes, like Jen's contact as well as her book information and ways to get in touch with her. But yeah, so the retreats have been so important because you and I, we were, you hosted a retreat out in Avalon and Glastonbury, and that was very strong. We were also working with a lot of the grid system there, the dark, energies on there, which I feel we made a huge impact. So, with this work in New York, it sounds, very important. So do check out that information as well. And, just to conclude, so do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with the listener?
So I just recommend reading my books. I recommend reading Twin Flames in the Event. I recommend doing the workbooks. I recommend getting involved in my community. If you connected with the teachings, if you felt emotional, if you got goosebumps, that's a sign from your higher self that you would really, really benefit from joining my spiritual community on Facebook. And I'll send Monica all the links.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, just come and join our beautiful community. It's really, really, really amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I love her community and her messages. So do check out all her information and content from Jen. So thank you so much, Jen, for being here and for your
Welcome, Monica.
time. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. It's been really lovely to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to click like, save, and share with others so they can also experience what you just experienced. And stay tuned for some more high vibe episodes. And I'll be connecting with you in the next quantum field. Sending you so much love.